Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Arthur is an important figure in British mythology, the so-called de Bretagne. His inspirational influence on literature is comparable to that of Richard the Lionheart or Robin Hood. Arthur is also associated with other myths, such as those of Merlin, the Holy Grail, and the Wild Hunt. What is the historical basis for these legends? Is there any truth to them? As always, let us begin our historical journey at the beginning. The historical core of the Arthurian story can probably be found in the migration period, when the remaining Roman-British population had to defend itself against the invading Anglo-Saxons after the withdrawal of the Roman legions. However, no source from such an early period is known that would attest to the existence of King Arthur. In Gildas's work in the 6th century, the leader of the Britons is instead given the Roman name Ambrosius Aurelianus. In the earliest historical sources that mention Arthur, such as the Historia Brittonum, History of the Britons from the late 9th century, he appears as a British military leader from around the year 500 AD, who together with his half-sister, Morgan, defeated the Saxons in battle. Other victories of Arthur are mentioned, but nothing more about his origins or his life. More detailed accounts are only known from the High Middle Ages. The oldest surviving story of Arthur is considered to be the Historia Regum Britannia, History of the Kings of Britain, by Geoffrey of Monmouth, written in the 12th century. According to Geoffrey's account, Arthur was the son of the King of Britain, Uther Pendragon, the Lady of the Lake. After Uther's death, Arthur succeeded to the throne. He pulled the sword from the stone, which was to be the sign of the true king. He married the king's daughter Guinevere, and had a son named Mordred with her. After a victory over the Saxons, Arthur and his knights set out to conquer the island of Avalon for Guinevere, but he was mortally wounded there by the sorceress Morgan. Fearing that Mordred would take revenge for his father's death, Arthur handed over the kingdom to his friend, Sir Bedivere, before dying. Mordred then usurped the throne, but was killed in battle with Arthur's son, whose knights were victorious, and thus the Britons were freed from Saxon rule. At least that's what Geoffrey of Monmouth wrote. It is certain that during this period, from around 1135 onwards, the Arthurian story became the subject of numerous French-language courtly verse epics and prose novels. The so-called Arthurian epic, which influenced the vernacular literature of almost all of Europe from the 12th to the 14th century. Numerous motifs were added later, such as the famous Round Table, which first appeared in Wace's Roman de Brute, novel about Brutus, around 1190. Many medieval ideas of chivalric virtues were incorporated into the Arthurian epic by the French poet de Troyes, around 1170. However, the question remains, was there really a historical King Arthur? Since the scholarly assessment of the sources is rather skeptical, we will not hear anything about the content of the legends in this series. Rather, we will look at the historical background and the emergence of the myth. Some researchers suspect that the stories about Arthur are based on distorted memories of actual events that took place during the resistance of the Romano-British against the Anglo-Saxons. Arthur might have been a chieftain who, according to tradition, performed heroic deeds during the battles, which were then embellished and passed down in epic form. According to this theory, the stories about his victories over the Saxons could go back to real events. It is true that the Anglo-Saxons repeatedly invaded the British Isles, but they were never able to conquer all of Britain, so it would be possible that a warrior like Arthur played a part in repelling the attacks. However, there is no evidence for this theory either. We'll just have to keep looking for clues. Thank you for watching. Please leave us a comment, and see you next time.